We need history more than money. Ladies and gentlemen, we need leaders who are more interested in people than in private ambition. If you're going to transform something, you have to engage it. You cannot change what you avoid.
Welcome to Leading Edge Leadership with Dr. Myles Munroe. Discover the leader in you and others.
Hi, this is Dr. Myles Munroe, and welcome to a special series on leadership development. Of course, at Bahamas Faith Ministries and Myles Munroe International, we are dedicated to building leaders and training leaders to become an agent of change. I've traveled around the world to many different countries using these principles to inspire people to become better influencers. And for you to become a leader, of course, it's very important for you to know a few basic principles. First of all, you must believe that you were born with the capacity to influence other people and the world. Secondly, you must believe that you possess the potential and the ability to influence the world with your gifts. And thirdly, you must believe that you were created by God and born in this generation because whatever you have, your generation needs. That means you are significant to the world. And today I am very honored and pleased to introduce a wonderful series of teachings that are going to be focusing on developing the leader in you and the leader in other people. I trust that you will enjoy every segment. I encourage you also to make plans to be with us on these special programs. Take notes, get your iPad or your notepad and write down the principles. And I also want to remind you that you can receive all of these different sessions in a special package on leadership development. If you're interested in actually using these for your personal training, the training of your staff, or maybe developing people under your care, then you are free to have access to this wonderful material. And I say that it took me years to develop this material, and I hope that you will benefit from every session. So let's get started as we look at discovering the leader in you and developing the leader in others. Our special program on this station today as we study leadership in depth. Join us right now. How do you define true leadership? Our focus is understanding the principles of what makes a person a true leader. This is a very difficult session, and yet it's very easy. Because to define leadership has been an elusive dream for over 3,000 years. Leadership is like beauty. You know it when you see it, but you can't define it. You know when you met someone who is a leader, but you can't sometimes tell why they are that way. And so when you talk about defining something, you are taking a chance. But definitions come from, first of all, truth, and then they come from consistent occurrence. Consistency. You define something based on its consistency. This is why you can define something based on the principles involved in it. Principles are laws that are always the same. So you can study 1 million people throughout history looking for what makes a person a leader. And you can use all kinds of assessment tools. You can use all kinds of complicated, formulas. But when you really want to define something like leadership, which is very elusive, you look for consistency. In other words, when you meet a person who is outstanding and effective, and they make an impact and they change history, then you study them for certain qualities and see if those qualities reoccur in other people who had the same results. This is how you define something like leadership. And so, for example, you may study Moses, who was considered a great leader in history. And we all know Moses, even those of us who don't like him know him. And we know that he did something very significant. He led a band of slaves and turned them into a country. We know of people like Joshua, who succeeded him, and we know of his leadership experience. And then we may study someone like maybe Joseph, and we look for certain principles and see if they're the same in Moses as they are in Joshua. And then you study, people like Jesus Christ, and you see if those qualities that he had are the same ones that Moses had, or Joshua, or Daniel, another leader that was very significant during the time of Babylon. And then you study people like the Apostle Paul, maybe from the Bible, to see if he has the same qualities that Jesus had and that Peter may have had, and Joseph and Moses. And when you begin to study these different characters, you begin to see perhaps some consistent qualities that are found in each one of them that may have made them successful in their assignment, whatever it was. And therefore you define leadership based on certain qualities. However, leadership is still a little bit of a challenge, because sometimes people with those qualities may miss some of the other qualities. And so you find that they had potential to be something, but they didn't make it. So I want to begin, first of all, with my philosophy, which I will repeat in every session with me. Here's my philosophy. My philosophy is that everyone was born to be a leader. Write that down. Every human was born to be a leader. I am convinced of that. Now, of course, we all know that the first question that comes to your mind when you hear that is, if everyone is a leader, then who's going to follow? That question is very logical, but to me, it is also illogical. The question, who's going to follow, if everyone is a leader, comes from your culture. You have been cultured to believe that in order to be a leader, you got to have followers. I used to believe that until I discovered some interesting realities from the spiritual perspective of God concerning leadership. Everyone was created to be a leader, born to be a leader. So here, let me rest your confusion. They were born to be leaders, but not over people. Write that down, that's important. You were born to be a leader, but not over people. Now, I hope that relaxes you a little bit. See, many times we think that a person is a leader because they got many people following them. But I discovered from my own experience, plus my years of studying these great characters, and especially studying the ideas of God, which is contained in the book we call the Bible, I discovered that God's idea supported the philosophy that every human was created to be a leader, not over people, but in an area of gifting. Write it down. You were born to be a leader in an area of gifting, not over people. And in our last session, I tried to show you how that works. That when a person discovers their gift and they identify the unique thing that they are supposed to serve to the world, that person has found their leadership. Now that destroys all of the theories that I studied in college. It also destroys most of the books I read on leadership, because most of those theories in those books are focused on a different concept, which I'm going to talk about tonight. It came from the philosophy of the Greek world, which is a very dangerous philosophy. We'll talk about that. All right, let's then talk a little bit about the original leadership philosophy. I'm talking about the one that God presented. First, I am convinced from the Bible that trapped in every follower is a hidden leader. Secondly, I am convinced that every human being was created to lead and designed to dominate in an area of gifting. Thirdly, I believe that leadership potential resides in every human. God obviously believes that. That's why he chose you to do great things, even though you are afraid to do them. Fourthly, I believe that you were born to lead, but you must become a leader. It's a process. You were born for it, but you got to go through a process to actually become it. Fifthly, I believe that true leadership is really self-manifestation. True leadership is really a person discovering who they are and then deciding to become it. And the emphasis is on decision, because you can discover who you are and still not have the boldness and the confidence to become yourself. And number 6, I believe that the purpose for true leadership is not to maintain followers, but to produce leaders. Now, these convictions are very deep in me, and this is why I treat people the way I treat them. I believe that everybody has in them a hidden leader trapped in a follower. And most cemeteries are filled with people who never manifested. They lived all their life and we never met them. We met someone else because they never became themselves. And you are in danger of doing the same. And the reason why that danger exists is because your culture, the one you were brought up in, every country, does not encourage you, first of all, to find yourself, and they don't permit you to become it. They have already conditioned you. They have a little slot made for you, and you got to fit in it. They even give you an NIB number. They tell you when to retire from life. They put a date on it, a time, an age on it. In other words, they tell you when you are useless. The whole thing is designed to use you until they are tired of you, and they call it retirement. They tell you what school to go to. They create the curriculum, which is designed for employment, not deployment. And so the whole system is worked out to make sure you become exactly what they want you to be. This is why all true leaders declare independence from their culture. Study history. Anyone who wanted to change their generation had to leave it. They had to become what we call a rebel. The word rebel means to rebel. To rebel means you are not behaving yourself. To behave means you are not doing what we told you to do. Rebels become leaders because they decide to defy someone else's prescription of who they should be. So leaders are really dangerous people. They are people who decide not to seek your approval. They found something more important. They found themselves. What I am teaching you now will never be taught in any school in your country. Because that is not what they want you to know. So we are taught to behave ourselves, to fit in. Leaders are so busy standing out, they don't have time to fit in. This is why my philosophy comes from this list, because it comes from the very heart of God when I discovered it. Now, I wasn't born believing this, because I was born trapped just like most of you. I was born under their system. You wonder, how did Myles Munroe get away from the Bahamian mentality? How did he escape being trapped in a culture that tells you how high you can go, how far you can go, and who you can influence? I escaped because of what I'm teaching you tonight. No human set me free. I don't trust humans. You shall know the truth. And that's all I do. My job tonight is not to try and change you, but to give you truth as I know it. And hopefully you'll get it tonight. A light will come on and you will have a transformation in your mind. You will be renewed in your mind. And you will be what? Transformed by what? The renewing of the mind. And that's my job. Let's take a look then at philosophy. Now, what I told you just now is that was my philosophy. My philosophy can be summarized in two statements. One, trapped in every follower is a leader. Two, true leadership is not pursued, it is discovered. If you were to study true leaders in history, you will discover that they did not desire to be leaders. I'm one of them. I didn't desire to be what I am. See, true leaders do not pursue power. They don't pursue notoriety. They don't pursue being seen. As a matter of fact, most true leaders love to be by themselves. You think we like crowds, you know. You really think, I don't like crowds. I enjoy being by myself because I love myself. Me and myself are best friends. Me and my friend go walking together. Me and myself, we go walking together. We talk to each other and even answer each other. How you doing? I'm fine. True leaders do not pursue leadership. They discover something. Matter of fact, all true leaders that I have ever studied or even met, they will tell you they never tried to do what they're doing. They were overtaken by something. A cause, a passion, a dream, a vision, a desire, a wrong that needed to be right. There's something that took over their life. Rosa Parks only sat on a bus. What made her a leader? She declared independence from that culture. I will not fit in the back seat of the bus, she says. I don't fit there. I can fit where I feel like fitting, and I feel like fitting right here in the front, she says. And they call the police. She says, I don't care. I paid the same price as the people up front. I am sitting here. She discovered that she was equal. No one taught her that. She discovered it. Do you know what I hope before I die? I hope that one day you will discover yourself. I will be a happy man. Discover yourself. That's my goal. And then finally, my philosophy is that true leadership is the discovery of your purpose. Purpose. Everybody say purpose. Purpose means reason for existence. Everything in creation has a purpose. Everything. The sun, the moon, the stars, the ants, the mosquito. God created everything for a purpose. What is purpose? Reason for existence. God created nothing for beauty. Even though things may be beautiful, that is not its purpose. A beautiful flower is not created by God for beauty. It attracts certain insects. The color. Nothing God created is just for fun. It has an assignment. The ocean, the rain that falls, the hair in your nose was put there to trap bacteria from destroying your lung. Nothing is without a reason. The wax in your ear that you keep taking out, don't take all out, because the wax is designed to stick all the dust so it doesn't infect your inner ear and make you deaf. Every gland that produces wax was put there by God. Nothing is without a purpose. So the question is, if God has a purpose for the hair in your nose, he must have a reason for the person who got the nose. So that means that you came to earth with and for. I repeat, you came to earth with and for a purpose. Nobody is a mistake. And this is why God hates abortion. Abortion is not the killing of a baby. It's the termination of purpose. Parents are only used by God to deliver purpose to the earth. So whether you were born in wedlock, out of wedlock, under the lock, outside the lock, beside the lock, or no lock at all, you have a purpose. Give God a hand. You are important. So it really doesn't matter where you were born, who your parents happen to be or not be, whether you know them or not, has nothing to do with your arrival. They were used. So you have leadership hidden on the inside. I show a picture of this lady here. Who is she? Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa was 4'9". She was like this high. She spoke to the United Nations and addressed all the nations. She was a school teacher. A school teacher. Some of you who are school teachers don't even know who you are. She was a school teacher teaching in junior high school, that woman right there. And she decided to be a missionary school teacher, and she left her home and went to India and lived in India as a school teacher. That woman. And her school happened to be in one of the poorest cities in the world, Calcutta. Every time she went to school, she had to walk over lepers, people on the street in the mud with flies all over them. She had to step over people with dead bodies that died during the night, piled up by the millions. Second largest country in the world, India. she saw people's legs rotten off with leprosy. You should read her story. And she said every day she would go to school walking over these poor, dead, dying people suffering. And she wept all the way to class. And every day she would weep. And she'd become angry. That's an important word. She said she became angry every day. She went to work angry. Angry at what she saw. She hated what she saw. Everybody say hate. Anger and hate are important for leadership. All true leaders are angry and they are full of hate. I am one of them. You cannot become a leader until you hate something and you're angry at something. Study the leaders. What makes a person a leader? Something makes them angry. I wonder if you are angry at anything. Until you are angry, you are a follower. Until you can stand up in the middle of the House of Assembly, pick up the mace and the crown of the queen and throw it out the window, you ain't a leader yet. There has to be anger. What makes you angry? See, leadership, you can't learn it in the classroom. It happens to you. It happens to you. This woman, she said one day she couldn't take it anymore. Everybody say take it anymore. See, I gave you these statements. Write these down. These are important statements. Hate, anger, and can't take it anymore. See, you decide to become a leader when you can't take it anymore. Now, you can be angry for a while and still not do anything about it. You can hate something for a while and still not do anything about it. You're still not a leader. But when you get to the point where you say, I can't take it anymore, a leader is born that day. Because that's the day you decide to sacrifice your own safety. That's why we can't find too many true leaders in the Bahamas. Which politician you know in the House of Assembly right now who is angry, hate what's happening to the people, and is willing to do anything to do something about it, even lose their friends? See, you know what she did? She said she went to school that day and told her Monsignor, her boss at the school, the Catholic school, she said, I quit. He said, what are you talking about? She said, that's it. I can't take it anymore. He said, where are you going? She said, I'm going to death of those people. He said, what people? She said, I'm going to feed the poor. He said, Calcutta has 300 million people. She said, I'll start with the first one. Can your anger cause you to begin with just one? Are you leadership material? Are you willing to go by yourself? Start by yourself with just one? She said, can I have my paycheck, please? And the priest tried to talk her out of it. She said, no, I can't take it anymore. So he gave her a paycheck, that little woman right there. She took her last paycheck, went to the street, went to the fruit vendor, and spent her entire last check on food. She bought the fruits, the vegetables, took them to the people she walked over, and gave them food in the road. Thus was born Mother Teresa. I wonder if you will take your last check. Sacrifice. Could you imagine a member of parliament giving up his salary and saying, could you imagine a bishop in Nassau giving up his salary and saying, I gotta do something? That's why we're followers. We are more about survival than we are about leadership. I gotta survive, you say. I discovered something very interesting. Write this down, and you'll find it in the book. If you help people get what they want, you will always have what you need. You know that. Can I say it again? If you help other people get what they want, you will always have what you need. That's why true leaders do not work for money. They attract it. Leadership. Oh, it's hard to find. This woman. Let me talk a little bit about leadership attitude. First of all, leadership is not about controlling people. It's about service. Secondly, leadership is not about power. It's about empowering people. You know, so many people you know, they're looking for power. They are not leaders. They are immature, insecure parasites. They are sucking on other people's fears, manipulating other people's fears to make themselves strong. They manipulate to control. These are not leaders. They are leeches. Suck your blood to make themselves strong. Leaders empower people. Some of you wondering, how can Dr. Munroe ordain 40 people? I'm excited. Why? I'm making my job easier. I'm empowering people. That's my job. I told you all, and those who are in membership class, remember this. My vision is a church of 3,000 leaders, not 3,000 followers. It's not about getting power. It's about empowering other people. Leadership is not about manipulation. It's about inspiration. True leaders don't manipulate people. They inspire people. They cause people to believe in themselves. They cause people to believe nothing is impossible. Could you imagine Jesus telling 3 men from a family island settlement called Galilee that nothing is impossible if you believe it? That's what he taught in his classes to country people. He was telling these people who grew up in a hick town, he says, go into all the world. He believed they could. He violated their educational limitations. He ignored their culture and their religious upbringing. He defied what their parents told them. He said, you go into all the world and take my product. What you have is a world-class product, and you are a world-class salesman. He was giving them such big dreams. He inspired them to believe. That's what leaders do. Leadership is not about people. It's about purpose. Let me explain this one. Leadership is about finding and pursuing your purpose, not finding and pursuing people. People will be attracted to a person who is pursuing their purpose. So a leader doesn't look for followers. They're too busy pursuing their purpose. It's kind of a paradox, you know. You don't look for people, but they find you. Can I say it again? You don't look for people, but they find you. And they find you because you ain't looking for them. You are looking for a purpose. It's a paradox. So if you want to be great, don't pursue people. Pursue your purpose, your assignment, your vision, your gift. And then they'll find you. Leaving it at number 5. Leadership is about becoming, not doing. You know, a lot of people do a lot of things and ain't nobody remember them. You know, busy people. People work hard and no one knew they were here. Your uncle was a hard worker and he dead now. Ain't nobody remember even where his grave is. You can work hard and still be forgotten. But you can never forget a person who became themselves. Because when you become yourself, you declare independence from other people. You cannot be recognized if you are the same as everybody else. This is why a leader is an original and not a copy. And most of you have been trained to follow other people. I'm talking about even wear what they wear. We call it style. I call it prison. I wonder if you are becoming. My mother, bless her heart, she's in heaven now. My mother used to say about me all the time, she used to say, you different. 11 children, you know. She said, boy, you different. I don't know about you, but you different. Why? She said, you always ask questions these other kids don't ask. And your questions, old people is ask. I said, I want to know. I wonder if they say that about you. You different. It's difficult to ignore an original. So your goal in life is not to become like anyone, to become yourself. Write this down. Learn from others, but never become them. What did I say? I want you to go to work and learn everything you can from your boss, your supervisor, your manager, but don't dress like them, talk like them, and carry a purse like them. You be yourself. You see me? Learn everything you can from me, but don't try to be me. You can't be this original stuff here. You be yourself. Learn everything you can. Now learn from people. Everybody got to learn from someone, but don't become them. Don't lose yourself in other people. Protect the most important thing God gave you, and that's your personality, your unique person. You are original, no replacement. That's why God has never repeated anything in life. Did you know that? That's a whole new teaching. But I discovered in shock that God never repeated anything. No two leaves on a tree are the same. Your eyes are, do you know your eyes are different? They'll tell you. Your fingers, there's no two fingers the same size. I mean, nothing. God hates duplicates. Twins are not the same. Different fingerprint. So when you imitate, you lose your value. What did I say? When you imitate, you lose your value. Yeah. So leaders are people who have declared independence from other people. So they say, "You different?" Tell them, "Thank you very much. I was looking for that long time." Ladies and gentlemen, here's the challenge. And this is the challenge. I call it challenge. Leadership is the eyes of the organization or the country. So leaders really need to be very important to a country and an organization. Secondly, leadership provides vision for the family, the community, the city, and the nation. So if we can't find leaders, then the family, the community, and the nation are lost. And you might say we might be in that position now in most countries, where the people who run in the country are not originals. They are trying to get approval from everybody else. They want to be liked. True leaders doesn't care if you like them. I'm serious. And that's why you like them. You like them because they don't care if you like them. They have a love for themselves and a confidence that is so powerful that it attracts you to them because you see in them what you would like to be yourself. You know, imitation is not just flattery. Imitation is foolishness. For you to imitate, you have to lose yourself. And so, here's what God wants us to do. And this is my statement. You find this in the book. Institutionalizing a leadership-centered culture is the ultimate act of leadership. That's a big sentence. Write it down. What it means is that true leaders desire to create an entire organization of leaders. Jesus, therefore, trained his disciples, all of them, to go into all the world. He told all of them, "You are all leaders. Go with your unique personalities and your unique gifts. Go and take the good news that the kingdom of heaven has arrived." He says, you go in your unique way. This is why he never told them how to go. He told them where to go, what to say, how far to go, but he never told them how. Because how has to do with your uniqueness. So Paul and Peter and John and James, they were all different. And God wanted them to protect their differences because they each were able to meet and reach different markets based on their uniqueness. Not everyone can come to this ministry. I'm telling you. Because they can't handle this. They need pastors to come and visit them and rub their toe in their house and serve them communion on the bed. That's what they need. You can't handle ministry like this. We are a leadership ministry. You got to be very self-confident to come here. We are producing leaders. And I'm not, surprised. I mean, I'm quite clear what I'm doing. So, some people come and they leave and I say, well, praise the Lord. I bless them and they go. But, I ain't going to change to please them. I got to stay assigned to my assignment. Transform followers into leaders and leaders into agents of change. That's our vision here. So if you want to become a leader, you come here. If you want to become a leader, you can, go and worship somewhere else. No problem with that. And that's where you want to be. So we are here to produce leaders. Number 4, whatever we are in our lives, someone led us there. And that's why it's important for you to check who you're following. Jesus said, if the blind lead the blind, is that possible? According to him, yes. It's possible for you to be leading people and you're blind. It is possible for you to be following someone who's blind. He said it's possible. The only problem is they both fall into the ditch, he says. What he means is you cannot lead people farther than you've gone yourself. And you cannot lead people beyond where you've gone. So you choose your leaders based on your destiny. Decide who you're going to follow based on where you want to go. If you see a man doing great things, a woman doing great things, hitch your wagon up to them. If you want to do great things. If you want to be a success, you don't follow a failure. It's not a mystery in life. People will lead you where they're going. And if they ain't going nowhere, leadership is powerful. It takes you where you follow it. And you got to be careful. And that's important about you too, because you are a leader. Now, I have a picture of a guy here. Who do you think that is? Caesar. Good, someone got it. Now, the reason why I put him up there, because I'm going to show you tonight, we're talking about defining leadership. I want to show you tonight where we got our leadership mentality from. It came from this guy right here. Now, Caesar was not a Greek. He was a Roman. But the Romans invaded Greece. The Greeks were the first civilization who documented systematic study of human behavior. This is important. If you want to sound smart, write what I said and then repeat it. Let me say it again. The Greeks were the first civilization to document systematic study, research on human behavior. So the Greeks were what they call intellectuals. They were called from the Hellenistic period. This was the period of humanity where reason became God. Reason means they reasoned out everything. It's another form of humanism. The Greeks were thinkers. Everybody say thinkers. They were very dangerous because they were thinkers. Thinkers will always rule doers. So the Greeks were the first ones who produced all this material on human behavior. Matter of fact, three of the most famous leaders from that group, you know them or heard about them: Socrates, Aristotle, and Plato. They were Greeks. They invented things like Democrata. Sounds familiar? Yes, they invented democracy. The Greeks did. That's not from the Bible, that's from the Greeks. They're the first ones to develop the concept of citizen. Matter of fact, the Greek word for citizen, write it down, is the word Polites. Politis. That sounds familiar? It's politician. That's the word in Greek. They're the first ones to study human control. They're the first ones to document manipulations, mechanism, how to control humans. The Greeks were fantastic thinkers. They're the first ones to invent what we call leadership theory. I'm getting at something very important here. So let me give you now, I studied this in college and I was shocked. And then when I finished college, I kept reading and I was more shocked. I discovered that the Greeks actually still rule the world. The Greeks are ruling the world from their grave. As a matter of fact, dead men rule the Bahamas. Dead men. Dead men rule America. Dead men. Dead men rule Europe. Dead men. Why? Their ideas are so powerful. They left it after they died. They invented democracy and it's ruling the whole Western world, including the Bahamas. That's dead men ruling your country. They were powerful. Now, the Greeks, when I studied them, they had all these complicated ideas about human authority and human power, and they studied, the concepts of how to control crowds, and how to manipulate people, and very interesting concepts. I isolated a few of them for you that survived even today in our culture. Here's the first one. The Greeks believed that leadership was a product of natural endowment. Write it down. What does that mean? The Greeks believed that certain humans were born with, endowed with certain unique characteristics. And if you weren't born with those qualities, then their conclusion was you were created by the divine gods to be a slave. They believe that. So it doesn't matter what you think about yourself. They would study you and see if you have those natural endowments. If you don't have them, it doesn't matter how many degrees you get from college. You are simply an educated slave. That's a Greek idea. Another one of their beliefs is this: leadership is a product of birth traits. The Greeks believed that you who were born with certain unique traits were automatically leaders. Those who were born without those traits are automatically slaves. So their society was very, very neat. No traits, traits. Slaves, leaders. Let me give you an example, because when I read the traits, I became a little bit sick. One of the traits were, if you were born with sharp pointed nose, blue eyes, fair skin like white, and thin lips. This is written in their document. You were born to be a leader. Now you know I canceled, right? That's it for me. I done lost a long time. I got dark skin, big nose, my lips big, and my hair is not blonde, and my eyes ain't blue. I'm a slave. So if I was born in Greece 2,000 years ago, there's no question where I belonged. So you just know where to go. You just behave yourself. So you were relegated by destiny to be a slave. The Greeks believe that. The third thing the Greeks believed is very interesting. The Greeks believed that leadership was a product of providence. Providence means the gods chose you to be leaders. Therefore, those who were not chosen by the gods were destined to be followers. Destined means you ain't got a chance to be a leader. Now, this is very important here. So you ever wonder why the Greeks had so many gods? They were polytheists. That's a big word. It simply means many gods. It's the Greeks who had gods like Zeus and Apollos. These are Greek gods. They had gods like Diana of the Ephesians, all these weird gods. They had hundreds of gods. Matter of fact, the Greek rulers believed they were sons of the gods. That's why the word Hercules is a Greek son of a god. All them stories you hear, these are Greek myths. And they're saying that those who were born and not chosen by the gods are supposed to serve us who were chosen by the gods. In other words, you were born to serve me. If you got big nose, black skin, thin lips, if your lips were big, you're my servant. If your hair was not blonde and it was nappy, you are a slave. So this is serious. So this is the philosophy of the day. So putting on a suit and wearing a tie didn't impress them. You are simply a well-dressed slave. See, some of y'all think that changed. That's why I'm getting to it slowly. I'm working my way there. See, some of y'all think that because you came back home with a PhD, that they ain't going to bring the white consultant in and work over you. And you got more degrees. Because somewhere in their twisted mind, they are still sick with Greek thinking. This permeates our structures. It permeates the fabric of our leadership. That's why I am so weird when I be among them. I'd be so ashamed that they even think that way. How can you think that we're not good enough to own something? Because they are being convinced by the Greeks. The last one, the Greeks believed that leadership was a product of charismatic personality. You'll find this in the writings. Go on the internet, you type in charismatic personality, the Greeks will come up. The Greeks invented the word charisma. That's a Greek word. Do you know what it means? Write it down. It means gifts of the gods, plural, or giftings of the gods. Charisma. Charisma. Gifts of the gods. Charis, gifts. Ma, gods. Charisma, gifts of the gods. In other words, the Greeks believed that people who were born with certain gifts from the gods were automatically leaders. Let me name some of the gifts they wrote. Flamboyant personality. That's a gift from God. You know, people who are always up front. Hey. They say that person was born to be a leader. If you're quiet and very, reserved, they say, oh, you're born to be a slave. Second quality they say is charismatic is ability to speak. People talk a lot. Talk. Like, the one who was talking. They say that's a gift from the God. So if you are quiet, you don't talk, like my wife, you're born to be a slave. My wife wouldn't survive in a Greek culture. The Greeks believed one of the traits that they talk about, this charismatic trait, is one where you are communicative. Like you don't mind talking to people, like getting to know people. You're open. We call it extrovert. Yeah, they say that's charismatic, extrovert spirit. The Greeks say if you have an extrovert spirit, then you are automatically a leader. So anybody who is reserved and careful will automatically a servant and a slave. Now, these are real. Here's the problem. When the Greeks were invaded by the Romans invaded this culture of the Greeks, but the Romans normally would go into a place and, wipe out the place. But when they came to Greece, they saw the beautiful temples, they saw all these gods, and beautiful statues. And then the Romans came to the capital and they saw the library with all these scrolls, all these writings. Thousands of scrolls. And the Romans were so impressed. Now the Romans are military guys. They're not into thinking. They're into fighting. So when they came to Greece, they were astonished. They said, no other civilization is like this. So instead of destroying the library, the Romans saved it. And the Romans took the books from the library back to Rome. And the Romans studied.
And friends, of course, our time is gone. This is Dr. Munro again. Thanks for joining me on this special series of programs called Leading Edge Leadership. I trust that you have been inspired today, first of all, to understand that leadership is vital and important to our generation. Secondly, leadership is important to our communities and our nation. And thirdly, leadership is important to you and your family. I hope that you will continue to tune in every single series session on Leading Edge Leadership with Dr. Myles Munroe, developing the leader within you and others. Now remember that all of these programs also make available to you products that can be of a great help to you. We got a number of books that we want to recommend to you. The first book is called The Burden of Freedom. The second book is called Becoming a Leader. And the third book is entitled The Spirit of Leadership. And the fourth book is entitled The Power of Vision. All these books contain materials that you saw on our program today. So make sure order the entire set. It's called the Leadership Pack from Dr. Myles Munroe. You can receive these, of course, just by giving us a phone call or perhaps going to a bookstore in your area and ask for the books by Dr. Myles Munroe on leadership. May God continue to bless you. Thanks so much for joining us today. And remember, you were born to be a leader, but you must become a leader through a process. So don't die a follower, and I will see you at the top.